Most gardeners put their trowels away in August. They think the planting season is over, that anything new in the ground now is a waste of time and money. They're wrong, and their gardens prove it every single spring. There are two kinds of gardeners: the ones who see August as an ending, and the ones who understand what's actually happening underground. The second group isn't working harder. They're working with biology instead of against it. And their gardens come back thicker, wilder, and more abundant every year without them lifting a finger. Here's the science. Perennials planted in August get 6 to 8 weeks of root establishment before the ground freezes, using warm soil and cooling air to grow deep instead of tall. And the seeds they drop this fall, they need that cold. It's called stratification. And without a real winter, most of these seeds simply refuse to germinate. Skip August, and you skip the trigger your garden needs to renew itself. Two of these plants deserve a warning. One returns each spring in a color shift so dramatic, neighbors stop and ask what happened overnight. Another does something almost nobody expects from a flower. It rebuilds your soil, season after season, without a single bag of fertilizer. 12 plants. Plant them this month, and you're not gardening for this year. You're building something that comes back on its own, forever. Let's go through all of them. Number 1. Purpurascens. Most gardeners have never heard the name Cerinthe major, purpurascens. It's not sitting on a rack at the big box garden center. It's not on any beginner's list. And that's exactly why the gardens that grow it stop people mid-walk. Say it out loud: honeywort. This is the plant where everything above ground, stems, leaves, bracts, shifts from green to a deep glaucous blue-purple as it matures. Not just the flowers, the whole plant. The flowers themselves are small and tubular, yellow-tipped with purple, hanging like pendants beneath thick, waxy bracts the color of an ocean under clouds. It looks designed, not grown. A self-seeded drift in a late spring border reads as foliage and flower at once, something no catalog photo quite captures. Plant in August. The seed winters in place. Seedlings emerge in spring. Mature fast. Bloom, drop seed, repeat. You plant once. It handles the rest. Bumblebees don't wander onto Cerinthe. They seek it out. The tubular shape fits them precisely, and a blooming patch stays in motion all day. Give it lean, poor soil. Rich soil makes it lush and floppy, and it loses everything that makes it architectural. Neglect it. Look for purpurascens specifically, the deepest color, and worth ordering, because you won't find it on a shelf. Number 2. Echinacea. Most people buy echinacea every spring as a potted transplant from the garden center, and they get exactly one good season out of it. That's the mistake. By the time that pot hits the shelf, it's already missed the window that turns it into a real perennial. Root establishment happens in fall, not spring, and a spring transplant simply never catches up. Plant echinacea from seed in August instead, and it spends the fall building a deep root system before dormancy sets in. That depth is everything. It's what lets the plant come back stronger in year 2, not just alive but expanding. Spring-planted echinacea is playing catch-up its whole life. Here's what almost nobody plans for: pollinators. August-planted echinacea hits its stride blooming late summer into fall in year 2, right when most of the garden has gone quiet and monarchs and late-season bees are running out of options. That's not a bonus. That's the plant showing up exactly when it's needed most. Leave the seed heads standing through winter. They feed goldfinches directly, and they drop seed for next year's plants at the same time. It's reproducing and feeding wildlife in the same gesture. Go with Magnus for the classic pink, or White Swan if you want something that photographs like nothing else in the border. This is a plant that gets better every single year you leave it alone. Number 3. Columbine. Here's the moment nobody warns you about. The columbine you bought at the garden center, that named hybrid with the perfect showy bloom, will not come back the way you remember it. Those seeds either don't self-sow at all, or they produce something duller than what you paid for. It's a one-season plant wearing a perennial's reputation. What most gardeners never discover is that straight species Aquilegia, Canadensis, vulgaris, Caerulea, behave completely differently. They're promiscuous self-seeders, and they naturalize fast, crossing and recombining year after year. Picture an established bed of self-seeding columbine in year 3 or 4. You get a spread of colors no catalog ever promised you, subtle shifts each spring as natural crosses emerge. That's not something a nursery pot can replicate. It's something only time in your own soil produces. The seed needs cold stratification to germinate, so plant in August and let it sit through a full fall before winter locks it down. That's the rhythm it evolved for. One individual columbine only lives 2 or 3 years. Don't panic when it fades. The self-seeding is the perennial strategy. Let it wander. Plant A. canadensis for hummingbirds, or A. vulgaris if you want maximum self-seeding. You're not planting a flower, you're planting a lineage. Number 4, foxglove. Most gardeners call foxglove a perennial because it keeps coming back. It doesn't. It's a biennial, and that distinction is why so many people feel cheated by it. Year 1, it's just a low rosette of leaves, nothing to look at. Year 2, it throws up that dramatic 4 to 6 foot flower spire. Buy a transplant, get 1 year of bloom, watch it die, and walk away thinking foxglove failed you. It didn't. You just never understood the cycle. Plant from seed in August instead, and let year 1 happen quietly underground and in that rosette. Year 2 delivers the tower. But here's the trick that makes it act perennial. It self-seeds so prolifically that you end up with plants on staggered cycles, some in year 1, some in year 2, blooming every single season without a gap. This is the payoff. A mature foxglove colony in part shade, spires at different heights, pink and cream and speckled white, staggered like a skyline. Cottage gardeners chase this effect for years. One August planting builds it on its own. It thrives exactly where other self-seeders quit. Part shade, the spots your garden usually wastes. Go with Camelot for size. Straight Purpurea for maximum spread. Plant it once. Inherit a colony. Number 5. Verbena bonariensis. Every garden has the same design problem. The gap between what's happening at ground level and where the shrubs take over. That middle layer, 4 to 5 feet up, either sits empty or gets filled with an ornamental grass you paid too much for. Verbena bonariensis solves it with almost nothing. Tall, wiry, nearly see-through stems, topped with tight clusters of purple that float over everything beneath them like a haze. It's technically a tender perennial in warm zones and an annual in cold ones. It doesn't matter. It self-seeds so aggressively that most people who grow it have never bought a second plant. Plant it once, in August, and it takes over the job of showing up every year on its own. Butterflies find it, monarchs especially, and an August planting means it's blooming in year 2, right as fall migration peaks. The timing lines up like it was designed that way. Because the stems are so thin, you can plant it directly inside other beds, not behind them. It rises through neighboring plants without ever blocking them. The straight species self-seeds hardest. Lollipop is tidier but less reliable. By year 3, you've got a floating purple haze across the whole garden, and you haven't spent another dollar on it. Number 6. Hollyhocks. Hollyhocks used to be on every farmhouse fence in America. 150 years of that image is baked into what a cottage garden is supposed to look like. Then rust disease swept through, hollyhocks got labeled difficult, and most home gardeners quietly gave up on them. Here's what they missed. The rust problem has a solution, and it's just timing. Spring transplants hit their most vulnerable leaf stage right in the middle of summer heat and humidity, exactly when rust fungus thrives. Seed planted in August takes a completely different path. It grows slowly through fall, goes dormant as a small rosette, and comes back in spring with stronger foliage right when rust pressure is at its lowest. Same plant, same disease, but the timing takes the fight out of it. The payoff is that spire. 6 to 8 feet, set against a fence or wall, in colors running from near black burgundy to white to coral. This is the image that defined American cottage gardening, and it's built from one seed packet. Hollyhock is biennial to short-lived perennial, but it self-seeds reliably enough to sustain a colony on its own. Plant it along a fence and let it spread. Go with Niagara for drama, Chater's Double for the frilled full bloom. One packet, 150 years of garden history, back on your fence. Number 7 is calendula. Calendula is technically an annual, and that one word gets it dismissed from perennial planting lists constantly. Here's the correction. Plant it in late summer and let it self-seed, and it functions as a permanent fixture. The original plant dies every winter, sure, but its offspring fill the exact same space the next year and the year after, without you ever buying another packet. Here's what most gardeners don't know. Calendula petals are edible. Cooks have used them since the Middle Ages, scattered over salads, stirred into rice for that golden color, used as a saffron substitute when saffron was too expensive for most kitchens. Plant it in August and you've got a flowering garden plant and a working culinary herb through fall, at the same time, from the same seed. It also repels aphids and pulls in beneficial insects, so it's earning its space in 3 different ways at once. Deadhead through the season if you want more blooms, but let that last flush in late October go to seed. Those are next year's plants, doing the work for you. Indian Prince gives you deep orange. Citrus Cocktail gives you a mix of yellows and creams. 1 packet of seed, and calendula never leaves your garden again. Number 8 is larkspur. Almost everyone who's tried larkspur has failed at it once. They buy the seed packet in April, sow it, get spotty, weak germination, and quietly write it off. Nobody told them the problem. Larkspur needs cold to germinate reliably. It was never a spring seed. It's an August seed. In the wild, larkspur drops its seed in late summer and sits through winter's cold before germinating. That's the whole mechanism. Sow in August, and you're just letting it do what it evolved to do. Winter in place. Then come up in spring dense, even, and strong, instead of patchy and disappointing. The payoff is a stand of larkspur in late spring, blue, purple, pink, and white spires rising out of the border before the summer heat even arrives. It's one of the most architecturally striking flowers you can grow in a cool season garden, and almost nobody sees it, because almost nobody plants it at the right time. Scatter the seed directly where you want it. Larkspur hates being transplanted. The roots won't tolerate it. Direct sow in August and step away. Giant Imperial gives you the tallest spires. Mix a few varieties and let the colors sort themselves out. Get the timing right once, and you'll never fail at larkspur again. I want to stop for a second. For years, I planted on the calendar everyone else used. Spring for everything, fall for nothing, and I lost entire seasons without realizing it. Nobody told me the ground was still working in August. I wish someone had, a lot earlier than they did. Here's why I'm bringing this up now. You just learned that 8 plants most people never grow could reshape a garden starting this month alone. That's 1 season, 1 mindset shift. The book I want to tell you about takes that exact thinking and applies it everywhere. Not just August, every month, every season. Mapped out as a system instead of scattered advice you piece together too late. Right now, while you're watching this, there are September windows closing, October windows coming up behind them. Most gardeners miss these every single year. Not from laziness, from nobody handing them a map. That's what this book actually is. The same principle behind planting in August, working with the plant instead of against the calendar, applied to your whole year, season by season, so you stop finding out about the right window after it's already shut. It's called The Year-Round Harvest Blueprint by Samantha Terry. $14.99, digital download, links in the description. Inside, you get planting schedules built around real biology, succession strategies so beds don't sit empty, and seasonal planning charts you can actually use instead of just admire. There's a bonus planning pack included too. This isn't a sales pitch from me. It's the thing I wish someone had put in my hands years ago. Get it? You'll thank yourself next spring. Number 9 is Nigella. You already know this plant. You just don't know you can grow it. Love in a Mist shows up in florist arrangements constantly, and people assume something with a name that pretty must be finicky or imported. It isn't. It's one of the most aggressively self-seeding plants you can put in a cool season garden. The flowers are only half the story. Once the blue blooms fade, Nigella produces these balloon-shaped seed pods, striped green and burgundy, that are just as decorative as anything that came before them. Those are the exact pods showing up in dried arrangements you've paid for. Let them dry right on the plant and they do 2 jobs at once, scattering next year's seed and handing you cut material for your own arrangements. Same rule as larkspur applies here. Nigella needs cold to germinate reliably, so August sowing isn't a preference. It's the only version of this plant that actually works. Scatter the seed heavy, then thin to about 6 inches apart. Crowd it, and you lose both the flowers and the pods. You've bought this plant in bouquets for years. Stop buying it. Number 10 is borage. Borage does 4 jobs at once. Culinary herb, companion plant, pollinator magnet, and one of the most reliable self-seeders you'll ever put in fall soil. Most American gardeners have never grown it. Almost everyone who does keeps growing it forever. Those star-shaped blue flowers taste like cucumber. That's not a description, that's exactly what they taste like. Drop them in salads, float them in cocktails, use them as garnish. No grocery store carries this. It exists only if you grow it yourself. Bees can't leave it alone. A single blooming plant will have several bees working it at once, and an August-planted borage blooms early the following year, right when the season's first pollinators are hunting for anything available. It self-seeds hard. One plant becomes 5 becomes 20, fast. Thin it aggressively or it'll take the bed over completely. The leaves are edible too, used raw in salads or cooked as greens in Mediterranean kitchens. One plant, flowers and leaves both on the menu. Grow it once, and you'll wonder why it took you this long. Number 11. Feverfew. Feverfew has a 400-year history in European herbal medicine. The name literally comes from its use as a fever remedy, and today, researchers study it for migraine prevention. Most gardeners walk right past it, growing it purely for the small white daisy flowers and ferny foliage, with no idea they're looking at actual medicine. In the garden, it does something quieter than the showstoppers. It naturalizes as a loose, airy filler, blooming continuously from late spring through fall, holding the space between the plants, doing something more dramatic. Every good garden needs something like this working in the background. It self-seeds aggressively. One plant turns into a colony within 2 years, so give it room to wander, rather than a spot demanding tight control. Fresh feverfew leaves are sharply aromatic, sharp enough that deer tend to avoid the area. Plant it near anything more vulnerable, and it works as a quiet deterrent. Golden mosses gives you chartreuse foliage that stays bright even in shade. 4 centuries as medicine, and most people still just call it pretty. And the last perennial, just before I mention it, hit that subscribe button right now if you have learned something new. I post videos like this daily, and you do not want to miss them. Number 12 is Sweet William. Most ornamentals bred for today's market got selected for size and color, and fragrance quietly disappeared along the way. Sweet William is one of the last common flowers that still smells as good as it looks. Clove-scented, detectable from several feet away, the kind of thing that makes a guest stop mid-conversation and ask what that smell is. Like foxglove, it's a biennial that behaves like a perennial through self-seeding, rosettes in year 1, flowers in year 2, and a colony that keeps replacing itself indefinitely once it's established. It's also a premier cut flower. Long stems, long vase life, fragrance a florist would charge you plenty for per stem. A self-seeding colony gives you that, unlimited, every summer. Plant it near a path, a window, a place you actually sit. Fragrance wasted in the back of a border is fragrance you'll never notice. Sooty gives you near black blooms. Auricula-eyed varieties give you that sharp contrasting center. 12 plants, 1 August. And by year 3, none of this is a garden you're maintaining anymore. It's a garden that's maintaining itself, returning bigger, wilder, and more alive every single spring, whether you show up or not. August isn't the end of your garden season. It's the start of a different kind of gardening, the kind where what you plant now comes back bigger in spring, expands in year 2, and turns permanent by year 3. Right now, most gardeners are walking past this exact window. You're not one of them anymore. Tell me which of these 12 you're planting first. Drop it in the comments, and include your growing zone. Someone in your exact climate is reading those comments, and your answer might be the thing that helps them plant at the right time too. And if you grab the book, let me know. I'm considering a full seasonal planting walkthrough as a follow-up video, and your comments will decide if that happens. More of this comes out every week. Real biology, real timing, gardening that pays attention to the actual season instead of recycling the same 10 spring vegetables every April. Subscribe, and you're not just following a channel. You're joining the gardeners who plant in August, while everyone else has already put the trowel away. Your garden's next 3 years start with what you do this week.